Hello every beautiful body, and welcome back to videos with Jolene and Lucy and our new home. We're stepping away from Facebook and onto the YouTube platform again, and we're beginning with our 12 days of Advent, a little celebration of creativity, a few little really simple easy things to get December rolling on. And I'm very aware that for many people, Christmas is complicated. Maybe you don't celebrate Christmas, or maybe it's just not something you want to celebrate. And so I wanted to do something that was more in celebration of the magic and the mysticalness that both winter and, if you do celebrate Christmas, that Christmas can bring. So a bit of whimsy, a bit of childlikeness. And I'm going to be doing 6 videos, and each one of my videos will be working on the same final project, which is a little decorated whimsical hanging that you can hang in your home at Christmas time. So anything that we're going to use on our videos, on my set of videos, is going to be things that you can really easily grab hold of, nothing complicated. You're going to need a few tools that you may or may not have, and where possible I will let you know what you can use alternatively. So today is really simple. You need some twigs. I've got some of my driftwood twigs. I carry these in abundance. They're my favourite things to pick up from the beach, but you could also use twigs from your garden, or if you go on a walk you could get some twigs. If they already have moss on them, the better, because I'm going to have to be going out searching for moss to add to mine. I've got here a glue gun. I very rarely use my glue gun anymore, but we are going to be using it quite a lot in this project. So if you don't have a glue gun, you could quite easily use blue tack, you could use pins, you can use all sorts of things like that. But if you do have a glue gun, get it out of your cupboard, because we are going to be using it a lot. Today I'm going to be using my twigs, I'm going to be using some string, and I am also going to be using a little string of fairy lights. Now these are so cheap. In the UK, if you go into a pound store or if you go on eBay, you can easily get a miniature set of battery operated lights for about £2 or £3, and I think that's pretty unanimous all over the world. So these, you just put the batteries in, they don't need plugging in, and you just have a little tiny string of lights. That's going to add to the magic. So the reason I'm telling you that now is that your twigs need to be big enough that at least one of them is going to be able to support the battery pack. Now this is a wall hanging, so if you imagine that this is going to be backed up against a wall, so this here will end up resting somewhere onto my log, my twig, and I will be covering that up with something else. And quite simply, I'm going to be putting a big blob of blue tack on the back of here, which will be stuck onto the wall and then resting on top of there. So that's how I'm going to add that on, and maybe we'll have some sort of shape in front of that to hide all that, because it's pretty ugly and pretty grim. So let me talk to you a little bit about the twigs that I've got. So I have got twigs which descend in size, as you can see, like this. So if you are somebody that celebrates Christmas, this could be like an alternative Christmas tree, and if you're not, it literally is a winter tree, and all of these are all sorts of different sizes. And over the course of my 6 videos, we're going to make little mushrooms to sit on here. We're going to have some little stars to hang on there. We're going to have some little fairy acorn lights. We're going to do all sorts of bonkers things, but in the end you're going to end up with a little beautiful whimsical scene that you can hang up in your home, and it'll be something to look at. So string is the name of the game to start off with. I am going to be speeding up bits and pieces as we go, but at the moment, let's start. You need a long piece of string, long enough that you're going to be able to tie knots in it and bits and pieces, and we can always cut off at the bottom. So let's get a really long piece of string going. And then I get to open my new pair of scissors. So, long piece of string like so. And then we're going to fold that in half. Like so. And of course it's all going to get into a great big knot. And then the top end of this string, so where it comes to a half, I'm just going to tie a knot, and that both secures my string now in equal half, but also gives me something that I can hook onto something at a later date to hang this onto the wall. So let's make a start. I'm going to go down my string and I'm going to get my shortest twig, and it's really easier if you lay things down on a piece of paper because then you kind of know where you're at. Now personally, I don't need this to be even. I don't need my sticks to be hanging straight because my sticks are not straight anyway. So I'm not worried about where I put the knot in, but equally I don't want a really jaunty angle. So I'm going to lay them down on a piece of paper, take one piece of my string, and so one side, I'm going to go through the knot once, so I'm looping around once, and then I'm going to loop again, like so, pull it nice and tight. So we tie it once to tie it, twice to secure it. So again, I'm going to go through my loop once, twice, and pull it tight. And then I'm going to lay that down, and I can now get a rough, hold that up like that, and I can get a rough idea of where I need to use my next bit of thread. And I'm going to do this all the way down. I'm going to speed up the process so that you can see it. See you in a bit. So now I've worked out how this is hanging and that it's hanging fine. I want to start getting my little lights wrapped round. Now you might think we're kind of going the wrong way round because we will be working on this twig as we go. And to be quite honest, for you guys, I would suggest that at this point you do hang your hanging against the wall and it stays in situ, and that as we make the bits and pieces going along, you add it to your sticks. However, because I want to be on camera to show you guys, I'm going to do it on camera and then we'll just work it out as we go along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the bottom this time because this is where our hanging is going to be, and I'm just going to chop off these bits of string so they don't get in the way. And this is where the glue gun comes into its purpose, because what I want to do to start off with is just to put this where it's going to be and stretch out my my sticks. Make sure that the lead is at the bottom, the string is behind. Pull those two so they're nice and taut. And then I'm literally going to wrap my fairy light string. I'll turn it on so that you can see it. I'm going to be wrapping this round and then coming up by the string, going along the next one, and we're going to work it up to the top, and then this will just provide a little bit. And it's okay to have some places where you kind of hook that up, because we want a little bit of height as well, so that, for instance, when I stick my fairy tale mushrooms in, this maybe will glow some of those things up. So having it a little bit loose and hooked is absolutely fine. And now and then what I'm going to do is not on the bulb itself, but I'm going to put a little bit of glue on my stick and then just press that into it, so that you can get these little moments where it's hooking up like that. So I'm going to get that done, and then that'll be it for today. Really easy project to start off with, right? So I'm going to get that done and I'll come straight back to you. So that's it for today. If you fancy giving it a go and showing us your pictures, head over to the Facebook community, and I'll see you in a couple of days.